capsicum to the core and the challenges, especially the issue of pest management in capsicum farming. And of course, in studio, we have Marshall Nyagilo, who's agronomy consultant. And we're talking about specific pests that are important, as he says, that sometimes it's a symbiotic, it serves a purpose in one way or the other. But we're talking about thrips. And you said this is one of the most popular pests.
Yes.
And important, as you had put it. Initially, you're describing what are thrips.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, thrips, they are small.
Mm-hmm.
They can be black, silver, but cylindrical is their key feature on the anatomy. Mm-hmm. Anatomy is now that the shape. So they are small and cylindrical. And remember, they are too tiny. Mm-hmm. So definitely, if you want to have a clear look and distinguish the male and the female, you'll have to need a magnifying glass.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Okay.
For you to now take a clear view and now you'll know this male, this female. But the key issue is not usually even the male and the female, is how do they get into your capsicum unit or farm. Mm-hmm. So one of the key challenges that farmers usually have when they're doing capsicum production, they underestimate the role of farm hygiene. The same way your house is neat, your kitchen is neat, your bedroom is neat, is the same way the farm should be neat. Because the moment you don't work on the farm hygiene, you harbor the pest. I think you understand the meaning of harboring. Mm-hmm. Definitely there's a weed that is a favorite to the thrips. It will hide there. Once it's hiding, it will lay. Once it's laid, now that's where the trouble will begin. They'll manifest into the capsicum. Now the headache with the thrips, these are sucking insects. They don't bite and chew. So they suck sap from the stems or the flowers. Now the problem with sucking insects, they're usually vector carriers of viruses, and very, very devastating viruses in crop production. Mm-hmm. So for instance, if thrips by any chance, they attack the crop unit in numbers, where the control limit, you might find yourself, you have to uproot a whole lot and destroy the whole crop. Sucking insects are very, very devastating because, for instance, this one will carry the vector for the tomato wilt virus. You know, tomatoes and capsicum are one family. Mm-hmm. So that's also a challenge in one way. I can't grow tomatoes this season, then next season I grow capsicum in the same area.
Okay.
It's totally out of order.
Okay.
Yes.
Definitely. So, thrips, you say farm hygiene is critical.
Critical.
It seems that is one of the preventative ways to counter thrips.
Exactly.
But in terms of observation, because you said you do scanning as a farmer.
Exactly.
You say these are tiny.
They are tiny.
So you have to really go to the detail and look at your
Brilliant.
plant.
Now that's a very good, crucial question. That's where now we introduce the integrated pest management system. Now, integrated pest management system is a system that controls but considers the health of the ecology. So it's like I'm bringing in nature, let me say in quotes, use nature to control nature. You reason with nature, you don't argue. You reason with nature. This is thrips. What do they like? What don't they like? For instance, rosemary in the surrounding definitely will interfere with their sensory receptors to locate capsicum. So you find the population won't be that much as opposed to when you don't have the rosemary in the surrounding.
So when you're doing your capsicum,
plant some rosemaries in that area.
Okay.
Bring in the Mexican marigolds if you have an idea what they are. They are also very good at repelling. Their scent usually interfere with the communication. You know, these pests have a pheromone receptor. That's how they interact. The same way when one is here, it has a smell it will give out that will attract another. So when the environment has more of the rosemary odor, scent, you know, Mexican marigold, they don't get to interact that easily. So the laying is also limited in one way or the other.
Okay.
So for you to scout, we have what we call the yellow and blue sticky traps. When you have them pinned in the farm unit area, any morning when you're doing your scouting, you will definitely check on the yellow sticky traps. You can see the amount that are attracted to this yellow color. They'll fly. They are not flying for long. They are most usually pushed by wind. So if the wind has pushed them to the sticky trap, you can definitely identify the numbers are coming in. Number two, you check on the leaf veins of the capsicum. They usually hide inside the leaf veins. So you open the leaf keenly, you'll see. So the moment you check this line, check the far, check the center, you'll see if there are more small ones or the larger ones, which can be black or silvery. Now, that's where you will know the adversity rate is at 10%, 11%, or what could be the best mode of controlling. That's where farmers have it tough.
Okay.
Yes, because farmers usually walk and just look. When they see the foliage they are green, they are luscious, shining, they'll assume my crop is okay. Then after 3 to 4 weeks, he starts seeing some adverse activity on the flowers. Okay. The flowers are drooping. That tells you somebody is already sucking a lot. And in that sucking, the virus goes in. Then all of a sudden, you see them wilting one at a time. So that's already a devastating stage. You will have to go the mechanical way, you uproot.
Okay.
But hygiene is the key word. Before you go for the chemical controls, because so far we are also having a lot of challenge on chemical use, safety, chemical use. That's the core challenge we are having in food security in Africa and Kenya as a whole.
Yes.
The pesticides are there, but the safety use is not considered. So Kipkemboi likes the yellow colored capsicum. You can eat it raw. Yeah, you chew it raw, it's very tasty. But now the procedures which have been used to get it to that quality, maybe the farmer didn't know which chemical to use safely in the production process.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So from what I'm getting is
yes,
very important, farm hygiene.
Yes.
Be intentional to create a distraction.
Correct.
Then integrated farm management system.
Pest management system. Yes.
Putting up this system, is it a simple standard procedure that a lot of farmers are doing, or is it something that is being ignored by many farmers?
Very good. Most farmers don't have an idea of the integrated pest management system, because I think on part of empowerment is a little bit still too low. Most of the crops that will help you to contain these pests, they are in your surrounding. They are in the agrovets. But we are in a scenario whereby you go to the agrovet, he gives you what he needs to be sold. Some don't give you what you need to contain a problem. That's where the headache is. But IPM is a very simple system. Rosemary is in our backyards, but people just know I use it for tea. Yes. Yes, you look at marigolds, we use them for aesthetics. We don't know that they play a critical role in pest and disease management.
All right.
So it's not sophisticated? No, it's not.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So as a farmer, also empower yourself with some of this information, because solution will be around you.
Yeah.
So you've spoken this sucking, the thrips suck the life out of the plant. You see the flowers drooling. Those are some of the symptoms that you see.
Yes.
You've talked about the level of impact of these thrips.
Yes.
Yeah, that those that you find at the onset stage, of course, after preventative. If at all you missed that, right?
Yes.
You can find them at a small quantity, low quantity.
Yes.
And sometimes it's too much.
Correct.
So in terms of intervention and reaction, you say that varies. You can do the uprooting beat.
Yes.
The chemical elements of it.
Yes.
Because that is an element that people see as very easy, straightforward. I apply chemical and it sorts this thing out.
In seconds.
Yes, in seconds. Talk to me about that element of abuse of chemical and maybe how to properly utilize that tool.
Now, when you talk about I don't really say abuse. I'll use the word misconception.
Okay.
Is misunderstanding. You get it? Farmers don't clearly understand when, what, and how to. For instance, they can spray a crop that is ready for harvest due in 5 days. But he sprays a product that the dose limit, lethal dose, I call it the lethal dose limit, it needs up to 12 days for it to be safe for harvest. But because the farmer goes there, he's in need and is like, these things are creating trouble. The person who is selling at the agrovet will tell you, I have the most powerful one, but won't ask you, what's the stage of your crop? Fruit, flowering, or before flowering? Now, the tricky part, before flowering is very okay. Why? I'm not going to harvest anything. Number two, the most important insect on earth is the bee. For instance, if you are doing the open field crop production of capsicum. So before flowering, the bee is not at threat because the bee won't come to the flowers for anything. But at flowering stage, you'll spray a product that has an LD limit of 8 hours. What do I mean by 8 hours? From morning to evening, if the bee gets there, it's dead. Now, this needs a tactic. So don't spray it in the morning. Spray it in the evening. The bee is in the hive. It's resting the whole night. So by the time the morning gets, the LD limit, lethal dose limit, are subsided. So you protected the pollinator.
Okay.
Now, most farmers have no idea when and how to do the spraying. Yes.
I see that.
Correct.
So there are lots of bees that they have met there.
Exactly.
And
yes.
zimetumwa Sayuni just because there wasn't much proper way of application.
Correct.
So proper application and utilization of chemicals varies with the stage of where your crop is.
Exactly.
Okay, definitely. Yeah. So that is thrips. Okay. Other than thrips, which other one is one of the other most important one?
Now we'll go now to the disease and leave the insects. So for the disease, we have anthracnose. Now anthracnose is a fungal disease, also quite devastating in capsicum production. Now this one, the tricky part of it is when you are sourcing for planting materials. You know, there are farmers who will buy capsicum and take it, slice it up. He wants to redo the seed. There are people who are very local. They say, it will work, you know. But now you need to know where you are sourcing your planting material to handle scenarios like the fungal infection of anthracnose. Because anthracnose, it only manifests when the conditions are favorable.
Okay.
Yes, when the conditions are favorable. So how do you make the conditions unfavorable? Get clean planting materials from the seedling propagators who are registered and known, whom if anything goes wrong in your farm, you can go to them and say, I brought 10,000 seedlings, 5 are out in 2 hours. They will compensate you for that. But if you source it from someone who is not registered, you got the double loss. That's why you find farmers, he goes big, then goes small all of a sudden. So a disease like anthracnose can be brought in through the planting materials or the planting media. The people are doing soilless in the greenhouses. If the media is already infested, then means you have to change the media or drench it with appropriate fungal components.
What are the signs and symptoms of anthracnose?
Exactly. Anthracnose, you just see the leaves start to droop. You might feel like, you might look at it and say, maybe something has chopped its main stem inside the planting media. They'll just droop. But the moment you pluck one, the stem is intact, but the root base is all scrapped off. It's like rotting already, slowly coming. And you know, if it starts with the main, it goes to the fruit. Then I think also in the market, you've seen a scenario whereby the fruit has some punching on its sides. You might think they were compressed together. Those are signs already. The farm where they were being produced, the disease had already manifested inside. Yes. And that one, the best control is usually just uproot it and work on the media. Drench specific classes of fungicides to contain it, but not to finish it off. Contain for now, because it's a very devastating fungal infection again. Yes.
we tend to do an overkill most of the time.
Of course.
So how do you balance the containment and total eradication?
Okay, for instance, when you are doing your scoutings, because I said anthracnose works best when the conditions are favorable. I have the water. I don't monitor my water. When it's too much, the environment around the root base will be very conducive for fungal growth. The spores, they'll just manifest so easily. Okay. You find farmers know that when the crop has water, it's healthy. But when the crop has too much water, it's also unhealthy.
Too much of something is
too much also is too dangerous, So you monitor. You don't give too little and too much. Exactly. Number 2, you work also on your spacing. You allow light to reach the root base of the planting medium. Let it not be too compact and dark. Exactly.
I want to maximally utilize this piece of land.
No, don't go on maximally utilizing and losing maximally on this piece of land. Yes.
All right.
Yeah, sure.
So very, very important. Spacing, water, too much of it.
Planting material.
Planting material.
Yes.
Very, very critical.
Very critical.
Source for those ones.
Yeah.
You've said interventions. Of course, if already they are there, anti-fungis come in very handy, but,
Yes.
but in limited formats just to contain.
Yes.
Which is very, very critical. And you've mentioned something quite interesting.
Yeah.
That some of the products that you have in the market
Yes.
actually bear the symptoms of pest situation at their production level. Is it one of those corridors that are weak points in the capsicum ecosystem where some products substandard are able to reach the market, or how do you interpret that?
Oh, definitely it's one of the weak points in the corridors for the substandard products to reach the market. Yeah, because, for instance, for a product to be allowed to operate for the farmers in the country, there's a particular channel whom are entitled for that. It's actually their responsibility. I usually talk about protocols. So there's someone who is supposed to implement the protocols and ask, which category of pest control material is it? Class 1, 2, or 3? Is it friendly for human use? Is it considering the health of the bees in the ecosystem? If it's not, then it's not supposed to be released to the farmers. If you find it at the farmers level using it, then definitely we have been compromised on one of our protocols. Yes, a big challenge also on healthy food production in the country.
Okay.
Yeah.
Some of the pests that also came up, the issue of cutworms, is that a challenge?
Yeah, for instance, but not really a big headache. Cutworms, cutworms are from moths. The moths. They lay their eggs probably in the soil. They hatch in the soil. So before they complete their metamorphosis, that is the stages of development, they are usually at the cut stages and they are devastating on the roots. So when I'm bringing the planting material, we are usually advising you drench a component that will, we have the anti-feeding components. When you drench it in the soil, they feel it, they cannot eat. Then they die of the hunger inside the soil. Or you bring in a class that is not that devastating to important organisms in the soil. Because in the soil here, we also have very relevant and critical organisms.
Okay.
You drench in the soil, it will hold them. Once the capsicum is above, let me say, 24 days since transplanting, you'll find the root stem itself is very hard for them to damage. They damage mostly in the first transplanting week.
Okay.
That's when the seedling is still a little bit spongy on the stems. They can cut. You'll just find a cut, then you see everything drying slowly, one step at a time. Those are cutworms.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
But not very important as opposed to the sucking ones.
Okay.
Yeah.
The sucking ones really do suck. One of the, actually, when you talk about general pests, aphids.
Correct.
Talk to me about aphids.
Now, aphids are still in the same class. They suck. But the beauty about what makes aphids also very important is their damage you can see as soon as possible. A good healthy leaf will always be fully spread. The moment you see the capsicum leaf curling inside, more or less like a fist, just check under the leaf area, turn it upside down. You'll find a group already in numbers, because they are also sucking. They have already started doing their job because they are reducing the leaf photosynthetic area. These plants make food through the leaves. If the leaf photosynthetic area is reduced, you won't get healthy flowers. That's one. So for aphids, there is a natural enemy that I usually recommend farmers when I say bring in the rosemaries, bring in the marigolds. So I bring in a plant that will attract its natural enemy. That's, for instance, when I'm doing open field production.
Okay.
Those are the ladybirds. They do a good job on aphids. They consume them properly. So if you have a lot of ladybirds going in, that's a natural control mechanism.
Okay.
If you find it's devastating, go for a pyrethrin product. Those are chemicals derived from the pyrethrum itself.
Okay.
At least they are eco-friendly. But again, you watch on the time of application so that you safeguard your pollinator.
Yes.
Because at times you'll complain, okay, I didn't get enough flowers, what and what. Because the bees, you are the one who barred them from coming to do their pollination due to your spray timing. Spray in the evening. When it's cool, it's less windy. When the bees are asleep, they are relaxing. The lethal dose limit, 8 hours by morning, is done. The bee can come back, pollinate for you without any damage. Yes.
Okay.
So aphids are also a headache.
Yeah.
Also sucking. Exactly.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Aphids. If you realize,
Yes.
yeah, of course you said you can apply depending on the
Stage.
On the stage.
Yes.
At the stage where it's affected quite a number, maybe a good portion of the farm.
Yes.
That is where you can come with the pyrethrum.
The pyrethrum, chemical
rather,
products.
chemicals,
Yes,
yeah?
yes.
I'm confusing pollinator and pyrethrum. I'm
Okay,
fusing
sorry.
the words.
No.
But yes, so pyrethrum chemical products can come in
They can come in.
on large scale.
No problem.
Okay.
Yes.
Medium scale, that's when you can have your ladybirds come in.
Okay, medium scale, that's a kitchen garden, definitely. The ladybirds can come in. Even in large scale production, let's say we are doing 2 to 3 acres, I usually encourage more of the natural enemies doing the work rather than going for the chemicals. Yes. So IPM create an environment of what we call ecological balance. Your health as a consumer is considered. The health of the insects, the important insects, is also considered. So the chemical comes as a last option. Yes, but not first.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely. And another sucking pest, red spider mites.
Yes.
These ones, the mites?
The mites, they are tiny also, black and tiny. Also very good at doing damages. But funny enough, the red spider mites usually get attracted to capsicum through aphids.
Okay.
Yes.
They're brothers.
No, there's a way they interact now in the natural concept, you
Definitely.
know. Yes. You know, aphids usually have a secretion that they emit. So the secretion usually attracts a group of other ants, which will also be coming. So what the ants will do is, I take the honeydew, it's called honeydew, and I protect the aphid. So a natural enemy cannot touch. Now come to the red spider mites. Also are very good in sucking. They'll come in numbers. The first thing you will know they are there, you check under the leaf, you find some black webs slowly manifesting around the leaves also. That one, if you see it immediately, you have to go for a pyrethrin product. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. You have to go for a pyrethrin product.
Okay, no matter the scale. That
You have to go for it. You have to. Because the red spider mites, their enemies are not really that easy to attract into an ecosystem in large numbers.
Okay.
Yes.
Hey, that's quite interesting.
Yeah.
Who are the natural enemies for red spider mites?
Maybe less wings.
Okay.
They are very small insect also. Yeah. But bringing them into the ecosystem, unless we work with, how do we call it? The guys who do ISIPE. You know ISIPE?
Yes.
Yeah, they are usually very good in doing a lot of research for natural enemies, the biocontrols. Then they release, they can handle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Definitely. And even as we come to the tail of this conversation, what I'm getting at is that integrated pest management should be a standard.
Correct.
For every farmer, especially capsicum farmers, since you're focusing on you today. And in regards to farmers educating themselves on this particular issue, I mean, Marshall, how do we make it a standard procedure for every capsicum farmer to know that IPM is one of the surest way of you getting your products in the right quality?
Okay, one way of making it a standard is what we are doing here. We need to enlighten the farmers more, and we need to be honest when it comes to safe crop production. There's something I say is called food and feed safety production protocols. When I talk about food, now it's human. Feed is animal. Any crop you're producing for animal consumption, that's a feed. You get it? So the food and feed safety protocols or standards, what we are doing here is already, we are starting it here. The farmer will know it's not a must I have to go for the chemical. I need to make my area be neat and clear with the harbors for the vectors which will bring in the insect, which is a pest. Number two, farmer forums, where at times we have, like I've seen Muranga Farmers Forum once in a while, Kiambu Farmers Forum, bring in those experts to train even the vernacular language. Embrace it at the local level. 80% production in Kenya and in Africa are small-scale farmers in the market.
Yes, true.
So you have to put more effort to the small-scale farmers.
Definitely.
Yes.
All right.
So whatever you are doing here already, you are giving them an idea.
Okay.
Work with IPM. Not just necessarily go for, because now we are having cases of cancer-causing chemicals, Yes. So it starts where we are here.
Yes.
Then it spreads to the local farmer.
Definitely.
Correct.
Information is power.
Exactly.
Thank you very much, Marshall, for making time to speak to us
I
on this
appreciate
particular issue.
Yes.
Yeah, Marshall Nyagilo is an agronomy consultant, and today he shared his insights on matters capsicum. Thank you. Appreciate your input, and hopefully we get to discuss some of the other emerging issues in this world. But at this particular moment, Farm Kenya Show takes another short break. After we've dealt with capsicum, I don't know whether capsicum is one of the ingredients when it comes to the rupee thigh ball. Okay, that is what we're making today. This rupee thigh. I don't know where it is. Chef Ron will tell us. But right now, we take the short break. Then we come back and